Legal hits keep on coming for Donald Trump, and the world is waking up to the full banana republic nature of the judgment handed down against the former president in New York City last week. Joining me now to discuss Donald Trump's legal woes is expert trial attorney Robert Barnes. Robert, thanks so much for joining us on the U.S. Report. I want to talk about some of the specifics in this ruling in Trump's New York civil fraud case last week. Now, he was ordered to pay nearly $355 million US dollars. That's over $500 million Australian. Barred from doing business in New York for 3 years. Trump's lawyers are asking for a delay in enforcement of the judgment, but there's also this poison pill in here, which is that he can't borrow money to even pay off the thing so he can appeal it from any New York institution. Tell us about this, and how much is this just the Democrats utterly weaponizing the justice system to punish Donald Trump?
Well, it's unparalleled and unprecedented. This statute has never been used in this way in the history of the state of New York. No comparable statute has been used in this way in the entire country. No case like this has ever been pursued against a leading political opponent of the presidential candidate, or anybody for that matter. So we are in unparalleled waters. And consequently, what we're witnessing is we're seeing a lot of blowback from the business community, the real estate community, the investment community, saying that they will not do business in New York as long as cases like this are even capable. Because here this is extraordinary because there was simply no victim. The only alleged victim, the banks, testified on behalf of President Trump, said that they would not only do the deal again, they were glad they did it the first time, that it was an extraordinarily profitable deal for them to even be in business with Trump. But of course, Trump paid back every penny, nickel, dime, and dollar. And now you have a court trying to limit his ability to challenge this at the appellate level by requiring he post bond of the full amount pending appeal, but that he do so in a manner that does not take into consideration the full value of his properties, or by borrowing from someone else, or by operating in New York. And so this is extraordinary. We haven't seen anything like this. Frankly, we haven't seen anything like this in the whole world in a long time. And that's why it's so terrifying.
And Robert, this is the thing that really concerns me, and this is what I always tell people. You know, it shouldn't matter whether or not you like Trump or think he's the worst human being ever to live. The fact of the matter is, today they're going after Donald Trump using the law. Tomorrow it could be some other person or somebody else who doesn't toe the line in whatever the kind of political regime of the day wants. And I want to play here. Here's what New York Attorney General Letitia James said she's prepared to do if Donald Trump can't stump up the cash.
If he does not have funds to pay off the judgment, then we will seek, judgment enforcement mechanisms in court, and we will ask the judge to seize his assets.
This is basically communism here, seizing your assets for opposing the regime, isn't it, Robert?
That's exactly what it is. And in fact, you had Washington political consultants today putting out circulating reports at places like Predicted and others that this would also handicap Trump's ability to fund his own campaign. That this is an attempt not only to bankrupt a political opponent, but deny him campaign funds so that he can compete for the presidential election. We have never experienced anything like this in history. And that's what makes it so dangerous, that this can happen to anybody. If it can happen to Trump, then it's a guarantee it can happen to any ordinary person who just gets sideways with the government politicians in any location. They can seize all your assets. They can steal all your properties. They can deny you a right to appeal, even though you cause no injury to anybody anywhere. This is a classic version of an excessive fine in violation of the Eighth Amendment to the U.S. Constitution.
Well, I mean, constitutionally, it's essentially, it's a bill of attainder. It's going after one particular person using the legal system that's supposed to be free and fair to all, isn't it?
Absolutely. There's significant constitutional problems here. There's substantive due process and procedural due process violations because of the denial of the right to appeal, conditioned upon access to funds he doesn't have. You have a denial, you have an excessive fine. The Supreme Court has repeatedly ruled that you cannot forfeit property at a state unless there is a proportional relationship to the underlying harm. Here, the underlying harm was zero. In fact, everybody profited from Trump's deal, including the state of New York, including the banks involved in this case. That's a classic version of excessive fine. You have a form of excessive punitive damages. The Supreme Court has said there has to be a relationship between punitive damages and any form of underlying harm, about a 5-to-6 ratio. Justice Breyer called it the rule of thumb. Well, this is 350 to 0. So this is completely disproportionate. So there's substantial federal constitutional problems here that should get the attention of the Supreme Court of the United States if the New York appellate courts don't do their job and correct this travesty of justice.
Well, Robert, what is wild to me, though, is that, you've got all these New York liberals cheering, going, yeah, we got Trump. But, having been in New York about 6 months ago, I can tell you the economy doesn't need this sort of chasing out of successful businesses. People I talk to are saying that it's a witch hunt, and in New York, people are now saying, I'm not sure I want to go and invest in a place like this. Just have a listen to this guy.
New York was already a loser state, like California is a loser state. There are many loser states because of policy, high taxes, uncompetitive regulation. It was already on the top of the list of being a loser state. I would never invest in New York now, and I'm not the only person saying that.
Robert, this strikes me as just a complete own goal here for New York, that they're going to chase competitive businesses even further out of their high-taxing, high-regulation jurisdiction just so they can say, hey, we're the guys who got Trump.
That's precisely what's going to happen. Conservative estimates is that this case is going to cost the state of New York $10 billion or more in direct investment over the next 10 years. Because New York's one of its principal areas of investment is real estate. And now you've taken one of its most successful, one of its most prominent people, a person who helped revitalize New York real estate. Downtown New York was not a place to invest until Donald Trump was able to convert certain buildings into successful properties that attracted investment worldwide, all over the world. And if you're anywhere in the world, do you want to risk your money or your assets in a legal system that could steal all of your property, deny you a right to appeal based on nobody suffering any harm of any kind? Nobody wants to do that. I mean, what made America a great place for the whole world to invest was the stability and reliability and transparency and impartiality of our legal system. And they've jeopardized all of it in the name of getting rid of Trump. And by trying to hurt Trump, all they've really done is hurt New York, hurt America, hurt the credibility of our legal system.
Robert Barnes, we're going to have to leave it there. Thank you so much for walking us through this, and we'll speak to you again later on in the year.